Yes, people. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Happy lockdown. Happy lockdown, everyone. Make sure you're wearing your face masks and all that jazz when you're out and about. I just had to pop out quickly. That's why I'm a little bit late. But I hope you're all well. We're here to talk Man United. We're here to talk Mauricio Pochettino. His representatives have been approached again by Manchester United, and they have confirmed to Ed Woodward that Mauricio is willing and ready to accept terms to become the next Manchester United manager. Of course, there are other suitors. There are other clubs that are looking at Mauricio Pochettino, but Ed Woodward wants to strike where the iron is hot. Mauricio Pochettino is ready to step into a new job. Ollie looks all but done, all but doomed, all but over. This deal could be happening very, very quickly. The international break is fast approaching. This match against Everton has so much riding on it. But I've got a big question for you all today. Big question for you all today. If you're a Man United fan, you want Poch. Do you want to lose on Saturday to Everton? I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. Is Mauricio Pochettino the right man? It looks set that he is going to be the next Manchester United manager. A report here says United approached Mauricio Pochettino with the view to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as manager. Solskjaer's side have made their worst ever start to a Premier League campaign. United start to the 2019-20 season was previously their worst. So it's the two worst starts to Premier League campaigns ever under Ole. He says here, according to the reports, the club were interested in appointing Mauricio Pochettino as the next manager. The manager himself on Monday night on Sky Sports Monday Night Football show said that he's ready and willing to return to the game. Reports suggest that an agreement has been made in principle between Manchester United and Mauricio Pochettino's representatives. He would accept an official offer to become Manchester United's next boss. It's literally now over to you, Ed Woodward. What do you want to get done? Because you know what? If you really want Poch, if Poch is really the man for you, my view is this: get it done. We're going to have Man Like Mo on the show in a few moments. Get it done, get it over the line, get him in. For me, this Everton game shouldn't matter. If you want Poch, if Poch is the guy that's going to take us forward, win, lose, or draw this game against Everton, Ollie has to be gone. Ollie has to be done. He cannot stay around. He cannot remain as manager if you want Poch that bad. If you're not really that keen on Poch, or we'll bring Poch in if we have to, then that's a completely different state of affairs. But you wouldn't go to the trouble of holding your second meeting in a month with Mauricio, I can't say his name, Mauricio Pochettino's people if you didn't have a view to bring him into the football club. But I want your views. I want your opinions. We've got Man Like Mo on the show now. Hit the damn like button, people. Let's go. Man Like Mo, what you saying, brother? Mauricio in. Are you gonna be happy with that?
Yeah, listen, I'm watching Neeks' your show yesterday when you were talking about, was it yesterday or the day before? I don't know when it was. And he's saying that 18 months ago, you had the same discussion about if Jose was to get sacked, this was going to happen. Now, I want to say something, yeah. I think Poch is a better manager than Oli, no doubt about it, yeah.
Yep.
But what I'm trying to say is, 18 months, you'll have them guys saying Poch out. I'm going to support Poch. I already told you that the other 3 weeks ago. I'm going to support Poch. But will they support him if things go wrong? That's what I'm trying to say. There's, them fans where they, what I'm talking about, innit, Terry?
Yep.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that yesterday, I've seen you passionate around about it, yeah. United fans have got the power to do something about it.
Yep.
And I'm not going to lie, I hate swearing, but there's a bunch of pussies, some of them.
Man United fans lack the stomach to actually do anything, or they lack the love for the club. There's a comment here from Zed Pedro. So I think Woodward wanted Poch from when Jose Mourinho was sacked. He's just waiting for the right time to get him. That, for me, is what's wrong with this. If you've got a manager doing brilliantly currently in the role, but there's another manager you desire, I can understand procrastination, timing, and or not getting it done. But when you've got a manager in that's struggling, okay, when you've got a manager in that you're giving ultimatums to, there should be no struggle in when to get something done. Ed Woodward is a PR man. Ed Woodward is a I'll call him a wind merchant. He goes with whichever direction the wind is going in. He cares about being popular in the short term rather than right and correct in the long term. And I see this here. I said this when we appointed Ollie. No Man United fan, whether you back the decision or not, is privy to the information or has the ability to complete the due diligence on Ollie. Woodward and his board should have assessed the quality of training, the quality of tactics, the feedback from players, and use their own football knowledge to assess whether Ollie had the capabilities to take Manchester United forward. Most people would concur that we've found out that Ollie doesn't have the capabilities to take us forward. But at the time we appointed Ollie, if Woodward would have come out and said, listen, in that March break after beating Paris Saint-Germain, if Woodward would have come out and said, look, we're keeping Ollie till the end of the season, he will not become the permanent manager. We're going to assign Poch, whoever else it may be, whatever it may be. We may not have announced the manager. There would have been outrage because of the start that he had. But Woodward has got to be prepared to face outrage in the short term to achieve a longer-term goal that's going to give continued success to Manchester United, but he doesn't. He gave Ollie the job because at that particular moment, it made him popular. At that particular moment, it was like, let's get a statue for Woodward. Signed up, they brought in this legend. Look how we're flying. They should have done their due diligence and known that Ollie wasn't going to be good enough. It's one of the reasons why I don't trust their decision-making process. Woodward is all about the PR, and he's all about what is selling and what sounds good right about now. Poch is the guy at the moment. But let's just say Ollie does win on Saturday, and they decide in the end not to sack him. And then he goes on a good run for 3 or 4 months. And then he's facing the sack again. But by now, Poch is at Paris Saint-Germain, for instance. He's not available. Woodward will move on to the next in vogue, fashionable manager. I don't think he's got a plan of who can actually take us forward. It's just like, right, what's Twitter saying? Let's run a Twitter poll. I wouldn't even be surprised if Woodward owned one of the big Man United Twitter accounts that gets a lot of traction. Let's do a Twitter poll to see who they want as the next manager. And whoever comes out on top, that's who we'll approach. There's no system. It's mad. Do you think, Mo, we're doing a big show on it tonight, 9 p.m., but do you personally think Poch is going to take us back to the promised land?
I would like to say yeah, but no, because when you've got clowns like Woodward there, then no. I'm saying this is, I'll be honest, bro. Let's be real here, Terry. You honestly believe, yeah? And me and you, we've been talking there for 2 years on the show, yeah? Let's be honest, yeah. Do you honestly believe, yeah, that these guys are going to give Poch support? Do you honestly believe it?
Nope.
They didn't back Jose. They didn't back Bengal. And when I say back them, they didn't give them the plays that they've asked for. So, do you know what I mean? So what makes you actually think they're going to...
Do you know what it comes down to, bro? Do you know what it comes down to is this.
Yeah.
People chop and change what they consider backing to be. We're going to do it on the show tonight. We're going to get people to openly state on air, on camera, what is backing a manager and what does it look like? If for you backing a manager is the overall sum of money that's spent, then fair enough if that's your belief. But for me, it's everything. It's how much you spend. Do they let you sell players? Do they let you actually implement your plan over the course of time? There's a comment here that says this is all just deja vu again. Bro, you're right. This is deja vu. Man like Mo, thank you for coming on, brother. Love you and your opinions. We're going to get another caller on in a minute. We've got a super chat here from the same guy that we're about to answer a call from. So this is from Yasser, who says, people forget that Pochettino was on the relegation form prior to him being sacked at Spurs. Hashtag Poch out. Bro, do you not want Pochettino at Man United? Give me your views, bro.
Well, I mean, I just said it there. Let's be honest. What do we want as Man United fans? Jose Mourinho got us 81 points. He has won more trophies than a lot of managers in world football. He got us 81 points, and we sacked him for manager. We sacked him for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now we're going to take the manager that Tottenham thought wasn't good enough, and they sacked him for Jose Mourinho. So we're going backward now. So we're supposed to get better from Jose, but now we're taking the guy that was not good enough to take Tottenham to win them any trophies. What do us United fans want? Do you just want vibes FC? Do you just want to get to top 4? Or do we actually want to compete for titles? Because let's be honest, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got us third.
That's because you made a good point.
Honest.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Listen, bro, I agree with you. I agree with you in this sense. I think Poch is going to make us a better team. I think we'll play better football. There is no guarantees that we become title winners again. That's my standard. That's my standard, that we get to that level again. I've heard a few people say, yes, but Poch got better football out of a squad that had a much lower budget than Man United spend. That's a fair point that cannot be disputed. But there is another argument to be had that of can he handle the pressure of having to spend more money, because we know that our club are not going to be able to negotiate deals. Like, if we would have gone after Dele Alli, we definitely would have paid £40 million for Dele Alli. Like, do you know what I mean? So net spend is only as good as the people that you have. I don't believe in net spend. I think net spend is a myth. Well, I don't believe it's a myth. I know it's a myth. But let's just sit in the mythical world that it exists. You only get good net spend when your owners and your negotiators are good at selling and buying. Ours are not. Meaning his net spend wouldn't have been as good if he was here. And if Spurs would have done Man United's business and Man United would have done Spurs' business in the last 5-6 years, their net spend would still be better than ours, because we're no good at doing these deals. It's irrelevant. Net spend is only good for two reasons. One, if you've got amazing negotiators. And secondly, when you end up selling a couple of your top players and whatnot. At the end of the day, Man United's overall recruitment has been absolutely dire in this time. Bro, I appreciate everything that you have come on and said. Thank you very, very much, my friend. Next up, we've got Cameron on the show. Before we go to Cameron, though, hit the like button for me right now. Smash that damn like button. By the way, our review video last night is still now currently trending number 18 in the world. The 18th most popular YouTube video in the world in the last 24 hours for views, engagements, likes, and comments combined. Make sure you're always coming back to these videos and leaving your comments in the section below. Smash that like button for us. I cannot tell you how privileged and honored and humbled I am to be on that trending list for the second time in a month. It's amazing. Some comments here. First of all, from a member here, LFC Rants, who says, it's the pinned comment here. He says, this can be a never-ending cycle unless with United. If we would have judged 18 months from when Klopp started, we would never have been that great. But sometimes you just need to back a manager for 3 or 4 years. That's also very true. Our fans do not have the backbone to back a manager to get through the difficult periods. We just don't have it. And then we have a reactionary board that will, as soon as the going gets tough on social media, look to sack, look to move on, because they love PRFC, bruv. Jay Brew here says Poch started failing because he fell out with Woodward, just like Jose and Woodward. You mean with Levy, just like Jose and Woodward? People say you don't win trophies until you actually win one. I hear you on that. I think I get what you're saying there, Jay. We've got Cameron on the line. We've got one more super chat. Then we are going to go to Cameron. This super chat from Dane says Klopp nearly got Dortmund relegated. I know he did. He'd also won back-to-back league titles in that. I'd like you to come back to us, Dane Summer, and explain that comment with a bit more context for us. Cameron's now on the line. Cam, what you saying, brother?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. What's your thoughts on this news today that United have sat down, approached Poch, and he is informed that he is willing to accept an offer to become, when it's made official, to become the next Manchester United manager? What's your thoughts on that?
So I keep thinking about who's going to be the casualties, obviously, because that's what happens when a new manager comes in. There's casualties. Like, no manager comes in and is like, I like everybody on this team. It's impossible. And it's kind of funny to me. The irony is, and you probably would have the same idea. Like, who do you think the first player I think Poch is going to drop? It's going to be Martial. I think it's going to be Martial for Greenwood, because Poch, the way, and I've just been thinking about how Poch has played with his past teams and how he brought Kane up and how he likes that kind of striker who can score basically from anywhere, first touch like that. He's kind of always built his team around being able to get his striker in positions that it's easy for them to score. Martial's not that kind of player. And Martial FC is probably one of the biggest oleouters and they're like, so it's going to be very interesting to see who they decide to back because that's in my opinion, I think that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong. He could come in and be like, no, Greenwood on the right.
Yeah. I look at Martial and Pogba that could end up being two of the biggest casualties.
Yep,
I just got a feeling, and that's, again, there's a lot of people that I know are pure, unadulterated Poch in. Want him in. They think he's the right guy. He is the guy to come in and do it. I would love to see their reaction if those two players were sort of first out the door. I'm of the mindset of this. I love those two players. I'm willing to give a manager the opportunity to come in and make the job his, make the changes he wants. By the way, if he's first person he wants to sell because he doesn't think this player is good enough for Man United is Marcus Rashford, I back the manager because I support the position of Manchester United manager, regardless of who sits on that throne. That for me, they have to be given a certain level of control over their squad. Otherwise, they can never, ever, ever become successful. But you're right. People will suddenly start changing their tune, and that's why we're doing the show tonight. People are going to say all the things they hate about Ollie. I'm going to hold them to account if they're not criticizing the new manager for doing some of those same things. Because, if Poch comes in, by the way, and doesn't publicly slag off the Glazers in transfer windows, remember, we've all got to call him a puppet. We've all got to call him a Glazer puppet.
Exactly. And it's not going to happen. And it's funny, like Pogba was the other one I was thinking about, because when we look at Poch's most successful midfield, other than Eriksen, he kind of has the same idea as Klopp's, where it's like a workman-like midfield with Moussa Dembele. That was like probably the best. Moussa Dembele, Sissoko, those guys, like that's the type of midfielders he likes. Yep. So I'd be interested to see if he comes in and decides to play our workman-like midfield, Scott and Fred, and gets the same abuse.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Scott McTominay is a regular starter for him? These people. But hang on a minute. But I thought systems and style, and that's a question I'm going to ask people. If you want Poch, but he loves Scotty, are you going to get behind Scotty properly? When are we going to do this as Man United fans and just say unequivocally, I'm backing this manager for a 3-year period, meaning we can have a bad run of form. We can have some good wins. We can have some bad wins. We can lose some finals. We can win some, whatever it may be, where you're still like, I'm disappointed today, but I've got you. I'm going to defend you. I'm actually going to be a Man United fan for the next 3 years and back you and my team. I'll criticize where I need to. But if a rival goes too far, I'm going to stand up and defend them. We don't have that anymore. We have consumers and we have customers who have no loyalty to this football club anymore whatsoever. They would rather slag it off than support it. And do you know what it is? I don't ever like to be overtly negative. I would love to see the reaction of a moment like that, because I tell you now, if my favorite 3 Man United players, and we all have them, were ousted by Poch inside a year, and someone, I'll tell you, favorite players are going, I'd say, yep, cool. The manager's making his decision. I'm backing him. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. It also, what does matter is it shows how bad the club has run before, that we've gone in a completely different direction again, and we might end up hemorrhaging loads of money. That's on the club, though. But it's I saw someone else tweet this today. Someone said to me today, someone tweeted me saying, Terry, I sent me a DM. They were like, how can you back a manager that needed Jadon Sancho to be successful? He could only be successful with Jadon Sancho. And I'm like, I said, I'm not overly backing the manager. I said, but you're missing. How is that down to Wood? How is it Woodward's fault that Ollie can't implement his system without Jadon Sancho being here?
What?
Right? I know. And my response was simply that if that's true, that's terrible. If Ollie cannot implement a system without Jadon Sancho, that means he's a bad manager. My fear is, how have we employed a manager like that, kept in here for 2 years, spent over £250 million on a guy who can only make his system work if we land Jadon Sancho? And the guy just blocked me. I'm like, that's my point here. All roads lead to Woodward and the board. Because think about this. If Ollie is as incompetent as everybody that hates him says, why has he got a job? Why did you spend all that money in the summer? All roads lead to them. You can't get away from the running of the football club, man. It's crazy.
Agree. Like, look at FSG. Here's a good example. Like, Klopp wanted Werner. We know he called him. We knew all that, right? And the Jota signing, I don't know about you, but that came out of nowhere for me. Clearly, there's somebody working behind the scenes who's a football mind who was like, listen, we didn't get Werner, but Diogo Jota is available. Let's go get him.
Yep.
Klopp, he will work in the system that you employ. Klopp's probably like, you know what, that works out. That's where you see the synergy of a football mind who's like, listen, we can't spend the money we need to get Werner. He's a player we could have used. But here, I went and identified a player who's a perfect alternative. And because you're this type of manager, he'll work with your system. That's what we don't have.
Exactly.
We have guys who are like, hey, Mr. Manager, what are you trying to do?
And they lied to us. And they lied to us back in February when they released reports and did interviews talking about how they'd now implemented this structure. And by the way, in the summer of 2019, they did. And the majority of our signings had successful first season campaigns in the Premier League. By this summer, we already left that. Why? Because I think they were already having doubts about Ollie. They're like, oh, do you know, we probably made a mistake. He isn't going to be the guy. They start looking to the future. Now, example being this. Cavani, albeit maybe a few years too old, strikes me as very much the number 9, although he plays in the 7 shirt, that someone like Mauricio Pochettino would love to have, because he's a similar-esque player to a Harry Kane. And maybe, just maybe, this has all been put in motion prior. MMA News here says, here we go. It's board moaning time again. I mean, it's about moaning about the board. If we bring in Mauricio Pochettino and he ends up with a 35% win ratio and he bombs at Man United, Mauricio will be responsible for a lot of his mistakes and failings. But it will be another failed manager on the CV of this board and Woodward. They would get the ultimate blame. And if I do that at work, if my boss comes to me and says, Terry, I need you to employ a brand new commercial development manager with contract negotiating skills, and for an 8-year period, we employ 5 different people to do that job, and each of them fail, it's me. I'm going to eventually lose my job because I don't have the capability of recruiting somebody with the ability to do that job. Yes, that person is still bad at their job, but it goes up the line. And do you know the biggest reason why I think some fake United fans don't want the board to be the center is because if it actually gets fixed, there could be some positive. I think some people are addicted to the negativity, man. I really do. I've got some super chats here. We're going to add some more callers to this in a minute. This is from Khan, who says, felt like Chelsea and Man United were in very similar positions, similar states as clubs before the season. Now it's clear to see how different the clubs are run. 110%. I'd have to agree with that. We've got a massive super chat here from Dane Summer that says, your caller says he doesn't want Poch because he was in the relegation when he got the sack, but Klopp was in relegation with Dortmund when Liverpool took him on. People forget the first 5 years he made Spurs relevant. Listen, I disagree with the callers. I don't know if the caller quite meant that. I think the caller was pointing out that Poch isn't a guarantee, like no manager is a guarantee that they're going to be successful, Dane. And I think I would like Poch. I rate Poch as a manager, but I'm not sold, one, that he is going to be able to win us a league title personally as an individual. And secondly, I'm not sold that the board are going to back him in every which way needed to make us Premier League champions. So the difference between me and the Ollie outers around this news that Ollie's going is I'm not getting overtly excited about it. I'm happy to see what's going to happen. I've got an element of excitement to go, oh, I wonder what will happen next. But I've allowed myself 4 times running to get excited about a new manager, to see the same mistakes, the same patterns, the same issues, the same problems arise. Last night was embarrassing. But let me ask you this, Cam. How many times have you seen performances and results like last night over the past 8 years?
A lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's
loads.
like, see this. So the funny thing is, I had a friend he's a Juve fan. Like my friends like to chirp me and whatever. He sends me a note and they're all like, "Oh, what's happening in this game?" And I honestly shrugged. I'm like, guys, like, we weren't going to win we weren't going to win every game in the supposed group of death. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, law of averages exists in sports. Yes, we probably should have beat them, but at the end of the day, we're going to drop points somewhere along the line. As long as we don't lose the next, like, people aren't looking at things in a full context. It's so reactionary to the one game. Yes, if we go on and we get battered by RB in the next game or whatever, then we can be upset about this missed opportunity. But we have 3 more opportunities where we literally, after watching PSG just get slapped last night, just have to win 1 game and draw. That's it. And we move on to the group stages. At the start of this, Terry, we all know, we saw all the fans, United have no chance in this group. They're done. They're out. It's over.
Yeah. And that's also one of the reasons why, that's one of the reasons why as well, I want Ollie to be removed now, is so that we can have a period of time where we can have a bad result and there isn't a continual hyperbolic over the top reaction. So I get our start to the Premier League campaign has not you've got a real lot of noise coming from your end. I was going to mute you for a second, bro. Sorry, I'm not sure what that noise is. We know that the start of the season hasn't been particularly great, but at the same time, we could be second in the league and have started the Premier League as well as we have done. Last night's performance and result would still have generated the same type of noise from the Ollie out crew as it's always done. We know this because we've seen it before where we've gone on really long unbeaten runs of over 20 odd games, and then we have one abject performance, and this is the reaction to it again. And someone here says, Jaden says you're Ollie out again. No, I've never have been part of the Ollie out crew, and I'm not sitting there going, he's got to be sacked now, move him on. I'm indifferent because I don't think that Man United in the medium to long term are going to improve with any manager at the club. I'm asking for Ollie to go primarily because I want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer protected, because I don't like the way he's being treated by people. And I think bringing in a new manager, it does massively paper over the cracks for the real problem at this football club, which is the Glazers and the board. But at the same time, I think it relaxes the mood. It relieves the tension. It slows down and kind of remedies the toxicity for a small period of time. And that's important. All those things are important as well. And I think that it's just one of those things I want to see done. Am I part of the Ollie out group? Never.
But that's more important to the Glazers and Woodward. They do this every time to alleviate the pressure on them. Every single time it starts ramping up, we start doing poorly. I start shifting to them, and they're like, "What do we do to appease the fan base?" It's never a football decision, which is what like we've been saying over and over on the channel. It's never a football decision with them. It's always, what can we do to appease the fans so we don't have to take on the pressure and have all the negativity around the club, which hurts our share, which hurts our bottom line. Because at the end of the day, if people stop spending X, Y, Z, like it's going to hurt us. So they make these decisions that are never footballing decisions. Like it's been over the last few years. Like you said, we've seen these losses with LVG, Jose. We've seen it. We've been pumped when Jose came in. He was my Facebook profile picture. All of it was just lip service to be like, look what we've done. Shiny new tool, squirrel, Look over there. Don't look at us. It's frustrating. But hey, it is what it is.
No, someone here says, Terry, offer a realistic solution. That's a real difficult question in the sense of what I think's realistic and what you think's realistic is another. For me, it's realistic, but it's time consuming. And the problem is with a lot of people as well, when it comes to the sort of this challenge and this tackle the Glazers as an entity, I think a lot of the problem that people have with going after the Glazers and the Woodward is it's going to take a long time. Or it could take a long time to get the change that you want, where sacking a manager seems to be in their eyes a much quicker process. So it's let's go for the quick, easy, dirty option. But for me, that's cheap, and cheap is expensive. And that's why we continue to see things hemorrhage and go in the wrong direction, in my very, very humble opinion. For me, I think we need to be a little bit more sensible with all of this, and we need to start looking at how we can take money away from the Glazers. I'm talking boycotting sponsors. I'm talking not renewing season tickets and not buying merchandise. But to make that work, you need to get together as a collective group, and there needs to almost be a list of demands that goes in to say we as Man United fans are going to come together. We're going to get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of us to boycott all these products, boycott tickets, boycott merchandise, which is going to cost you circa 50 odd £50 million per year or so in terms of income, maybe more. And we're not going to come back until we get a percentage of, or we get some of these things in place. So, certain directors of football, certain powers taken away from Woodward, certain powers given to the scouting and the management network. And these things are set in stone. And this is very pie in the sky. You would need to sit down and discuss this. But do I think it's impossible? Do I think it's unrealistic? No, I don't. Look what football fans have done to the broadcasters here by not buying into their notion of buying these into the notion of buying these what's the word I'm looking for here? Box office tickets. They're already looking at taking it away and reducing it. They're doing it with the pay-per-view thing. They've done that already. So if that's just in a couple of weeks what you can do when you don't spend the money, you can make people change their mind. I think there's a very palpable and realistic thought process to say that we can change the way the Glazers are operating things. Because the one thing everyone that criticizes the Glazers says is they're money hungry, they're leeches, they only care about money. Then it's an easy option. You take the money away from them. That, for me, is what I would do. But I don't think people, and I genuinely don't believe this, people don't have the stomach for it, the heart for it, the time for it, or the patience for it. So they go for the easy option of blaming the manager, and then they sit there and hit and hope that, hopefully this time it will work. And that's the way I kind of see it. Cam, bro, I appreciate you coming on, having your say, my friend. Thank you very, very much indeed. for doing that. We've got Safe on the show now. Do me a favor before we go to Safe. Hit that like button, people, right now. Hit the share button as well. Safe, what you saying?
Well, hi, man. How are you?
I'm good. What you saying?
Well, first of all, I wanted to clarify what I said yesterday about the sponsors. You just said now, that the sponsors, I don't want to blame because the sponsors are paying the money into the football club, and the way we boycott the way we would boycott a club is through the sponsors because the sponsors
Listen, stop, Safe. I know you said this last night. The sponsors are not to blame. The sponsors are there to make money, and that's what they're aiming to do. The sponsors aren't to blame.
Okay. Do you remember last year when you said that Man United changed the shares in between Class A to Class B? And that's because the sponsors started to put the plug. They don't want to pay the money into the football club. Why has the club not changed since 12 months ago?
No, because the deal still had about 2.5 years to run. But they basically said they're not going to be renewing it at the end of it. And that's a completely separate matter. I mean, you're literally comparing an apple with a piece of chalk. I don't understand what you're calling for, Safe. Thank you very much. You're making no sense today. There's a comment here from Franklin. It says, Terry, your approach doesn't work with the club Man United sides unless the Man United consumers, which most of yours are worldwide, a worldwide fan base is, stop consuming Man United. No, exactly. But there's something called the internet, social media, massive fan channels that have the ability to reach out and speak to these these people. And I think it's doable. I think it's achievable. I think it can be done. But it's about having a backbone to go out there and do it. That's my view. That's my opinion. Listen, everyone who's tuned in this afternoon, thank you very, very much. As always, smash that like button for us. Hit the retweet button as well. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.